for a what if. What if you could convert ordinary cells, upgrade them to stem cells? And what if sunshine does this? Not too much, of course. You just get cancerous cells then that run wild. Yeah. Apparently the cancerous cells are the sort of rough surface, so to speak, and the immune system recognises them fairly easily, sorts them out, consumes them, gobbles them up. I think that's the white blood cells, isn't it, that do that. So the cancer cells, if they're coated with a good fat layer from their point of view, the immune system doesn't recognise them as alien, passes them by, and leaves them to do their thing, which is not good news for the body, of course. Don't want too much fat in the diet. I told you my amazing self-experiment without realising it, didn't I? I was picking apples for a term because I was unemployed as a teacher in England, and it was the season for apple picking, and we were eating mushrooms and that because not having any income other than the apple picking, we were on minimum expenditure, I can tell you. We were following a Christian type principle at the time of we weren't dependent on the state. The Lord God was going to provide. Well, in fairness, he did too. Wonderfully. I mean, wonderfully. Even our landlady gave us a sum of money at some point. Gosh, I've met some good souls who are supposedly as worldly as the next. But you could say, well, God just chose to use them to bless you. But where was I a moment? Hang on. Yes, and I found that, of course, I was standing all day, and I had suffered for years from about the age of, working in the Kersal as a student. The Kersal was a permanent amusement ground, a fairground, a permanent one in Southend-on-Sea, seafront. And I stand all day. Security taking, I think it was 6pence entrance fee, letting people through the stars and that. And I realised, goodness, my legs were starting to ache and so on, and the veins came up, and they troubled me terribly in the subsequent years. At times, I couldn't stand. By the time I was married to my first wife, some way through it. I was married to her for 18 years, but for argument's sake, let's say 7 years through, I couldn't stand talking to anyone in the street for more than about 5-10 minutes. That was absolutely my max. So I'm sorry, I have to go home now. I stood too long. And what I meant was my veins were aching so much. And I found I was now apple picking. Still married to the first wife. And they weren't aching. Why weren't they aching? Because our diet was basically free apples, droppers, you're allowed to take home. Mushrooms, picked from actually the side of the road, huge horse mushrooms. And we're on the country road, right? And they grew in the bank, big mushrooms. One mushroom between two of you was more than you could eat, I can tell you. Fried, of course, but there you go. Anyway, it was, and I couldn't afford cheese and butter, you see. And of course, as vegetarians, that's true. We were eating cheese and butter, so it must have been before I was 29. So I'd only been married a few years. Yeah, because I was in the farmhouse. I would think it was something like the third year of our marriage. And we hadn't quite become vegan, but we did by the end of leaving the place, more broadly speaking. And of course, my legs were not aching at all, and it was because I'd cut out all the fat, hadn't I? And we're not talking about cancer cells now. We're talking about too much fat in the diet. And would you believe it's I won't say it's a cure for, it might be a good way of avoiding varicose veins. It doesn't cure them once you got them. I mean, they're still, those wriggly bumps are still on my legs and on the left hand one and the inside leg very noticeably. Bumps, big bumps. But they never ache. And I never eat much in the way of fat. I avoid it like the plague. I do have nuts, not an enormous number, but I do have some nuts. I don't eat seeds much at all. I don't fry. No butter, no cheese, dairy, you see. The only oil I might consume a little of is olive oil. You know, I sometimes put that on my steamed potatoes. Yeah, do that, but very little, you see. No trouble with the veins aching. Avoid, don't go on what the experts say, you know, you must have so and so amount of fat. That doesn't seem to be the case at all. It's like all the daily requirements. You know, if you're on a fruit come plant diet, and probably especially if you're not cooking and trying to go as organic as you can afford and opportunity permits, I think you'll find that your daily requirement is just the food you're eating. Exactly that. Fresh fruit and veg. I don't eat much in the way of veg, but I do have green veg and I often cook it. Steam it, I mean. And I might well have a dal soup with green veg in it. Carrots. Yeah, so I have some cooked food still. I might be better off not on a pure fruit diet. I haven't quite managed it. I'm not sure. Just still cautious, you know. Half of me wants to do it, half of me is too cautious to risk it. Isn't that strange? You know, I take the view, really, that fruits were there. They're astonishing. They don't, in general, destroy the seed. Seed goes through you, or you throw the seed away anyway. And the tissue around it's attracted you to distribute the seed for the plant. And the plant has, in some sense, a vested interest in making sure it gives you the food that keeps you alive. Well, that's the sort of a natural phenomenon approach I'm thinking of. But if I think of it in spiritual terms, godly terms, I think of it as God making a food. Didn't need cooking, didn't harm the plant, doesn't stop the plant reproducing, on the contrary, helps it, and gives you the perfect food. I really should turn pure fruitarian, shouldn't I? Not sure as I could get hold of enough organic fruit, especially on my income level. I'm just on a state pension, you know. And, I mean, I buy some organic. Yeah. The carrots I get organically, and what else? The potatoes I have organic. Well, then I grow some myself now. The spinach I'm growing organically in the garden, that's easy. Celery is easy too, and seasoned, of course. Herbs. Apples I buy now. I buy the organic apples. They're not much more expensive than the ordinary. Bananas. Supermarket's very good here. Produces or comes up with organic bananas, but my organic shop sells them as well. Not too. They're fair trade too, so I feel I'm helping people to some extent. Not exploiting the workers, you know. So quite a lot of what I get is organic. Some of the lentils and that, not sure as they are. I know the quinoa was organic, pleased to find that. Not that I've been eating quinoa for months. I don't know why I haven't got around to it. I suppose I probably don't. Yeah, I really should, shouldn't I? Now I think of it. Where was I? Hang on. Well, whether you could, let me go back to the beginning here, whether you could actually upgrade ordinary cells to stem cells, I don't know, but what you can do apparently is eat the right foods that greatly encourage the distribution of stem cells around the body and possibly help the bones to generate more stem cells. In other words, perhaps sunlight helps the bones to produce stem cells either directly or indirectly by generating the right nutrition in the body with the other materials we put in, especially if you're on a plant-based diet. I don't know. But perhaps the healing effect of sunlight, not too much of course, don't want to burn you off, do we? Don't let the sun burn the skin, obviously. And don't look directly at the sun. That's not a good idea. Not at all a good idea. Don't do that. But you can close the eyes and sun the eyes for 5 or 10 minutes. 10 minutes idea. Not full sun, not midday sun, but normal sunlight, You have to be careful in New Zealand. The ozone layer is particularly thin, apparently, holding the ozone, and I think we've managed that with our nuclear testing or something, although they put it down to CFCs in the end. Since they stopped both CFCs, the expellant that used to be an air conditioning, and since they stopped nuclear testing, you don't know whether it's one or the other that's... And perhaps the atmosphere is recovering a bit like methane gas. Give it 10 years and it's back to carbon dioxide and presumably hydrogen. Yeah, going back to the cancer cells, theory is that there's nothing unusual about the cancer cell other than the fact it's, it's just your ordinary cells that have mutated because of probably fermenting instead of breathing oxygen. And they've adapted to such difficulty. Again, especially in a body that's got too much fat around and the oxygen, the blood's not getting around properly. The oxygen's not getting to the cells, the tissues. Tissues go into sort of survival mode and perhaps mutate. And perhaps something that gets, having mutated, has also the ability to grow rather fast if it's got the nutrition to do it. And it can steal nutrition from the body, of course. Steal it in that sense, in that the cells aren't developing in harmony with your body. On the contrary, quite the reverse. Yes. Back to stem cells. Well, good nutrition, diet, sunlight. Perhaps you produce far more stem cells, and perhaps they are an upgrade, not what we would call a mutation, but an upgrade here of the ordinary cells into stem cells. I don't know. I think the theory is, I must check, but I think it's that the bones are producing the stem cells. Well, fair enough, in which case, what's the best environment to give the bones? Exercise is one of them. My first wife, I know she's a great walker, and she does not suffer from osteoporosis. I think she's probably still got a very big dog and walks the cliffs at Frinton and Holland and Frinton-on-Sea. Good on her, bless her. But yes, as we walk or run, we compact the bone. Of course, if you run with concrete, you may compact the bone too much and get splintering and so on. Great trouble. Don't do that. If you're going to do running, do it on a natural surface, across the fields, across the recreation ground, not round it on the footpath. Oh, well, they do say unless you're going to spend a fortune on the right shoes, that might protect you. Cheaper to run on the grass. Arguably better in other ways too. Uneven. And assuming you don't break your ankle because it's that uneven, I mean, you don't want that, but the body is constantly using the muscles then to adjust, rather than a totally uniform surface every time. And good for the body. You don't want to lose these muscles because they're not used. If you do lose them, you can be prematurely unsteady in your old age and have a nasty fall unnecessarily. Well, look at that. Let me read this to you. I just checked to Google and it's come up with things that help, natural approaches. Intermittent fasting. Some studies suggest intermittent fasting can promote stem cell regeneration. Okay, well, probably because you cut out the bad things and you improve the good, but perhaps fasting as well. Don't know. Healthy diet. Consuming nutrient-rich foods like green, leafy veg. Fruit, berries, nuts, seeds. Well, it then says fatty fish. Oh dear. It can support overall health and potential stem cell activity. Okay, specific nutrients, vitamin C and D. Well, D, of course, sunlight, no? Vitamin C, fruit. Where else? You know, we don't produce vitamin C. Why not? Because we should on a tropical diet. Get loads of vitamin C. Several grams a day, in fact. Far more than they think is necessary. And certain supplements have been linked to promoting stem cell proliferation and function. There you go. And then it says regular exercise. We've covered that, haven't we? Including endurance exercises. Oh, sounds like marathon running could overdo the body to me, but still can increase the body's circulatory system cells. Yeah, well, body's circulation and stem cell can increase the body's circulating stem cells. Oh, I see. The stem cells. Activity. Yes, distributes them. In other words, you don't want your blood to be clotting, and of course if you follow a Dadimo blood diet, where you eat foods that are appropriate to your blood type, well, that's in that area, isn't it? I would look at that myself strongly, and do. I avoid the foods that I'm not supposed to eat with my B blood group and so on. Well, sleep, adequate sleep is crucial for maintaining stem cell activity. Is that so? Adequate sleep for maintaining stem cell activity. Hydration. Well, I don't have any problem with hydration when I'm on my pure fruit diet, of course. Proper hydration supports blood flow, which is essential for stem cell mobilization, and so on. Well, thank you, Heavenly Dad. Isn't that good? Thank you, Dad.